Welcome to the first week of Special Education 671, Advanced Study of Literacy Problems. We're going to begin week one by taking a look at the course syllabus. So please download it from Moodle or pull it up on your screen as we go through it section by section. The first section is contact information. And I encourage you to communicate with me whenever you have any concerns or questions. Don't wait, just get a hold of me. You can do so using my phone, 818-677-5000. You can email me at sue.sears@csun.edu, and I'm often in my office, although I set my own office hours, so if you want to see me in my office, please email that request to me, and you can find me in Education 3106. The clinical experience will take place in the Teaching, Learning, and Counseling Consortium here on CSUN's campus in the Special Education Clinic, which is room 106 of the TLCC. Most of you are familiar with the conceptual framework of the Michael D. Eisner College of Education. We developed this probably about 10 years ago with the overarching theme of excellence through innovation. What we value are these excellence, academic excellence, the use of evidence, and ethical and caring professional development. We also value collaborative partnerships, communities of diverse learners, and creative and reflective thinking and practice. So let's move on to this specific course and talk about the course description and the textbooks. As the course description indicates, this is an advanced course in literacy development. It examines issues related to reading processes, to assessment, effective practices, and research. Emphasis is placed on students struggling with reading and writing, and as I've indicated, a supervised practicum is required. There are two textbooks for the course. The first is Words Their Way, Word Study for Phonics, Vocabulary, and Spelling Instruction by Bear, Evernisi, Templeton, and Johnston. And I Read It But I Don't Get It by Carol Tavani. Both of these books are designed to be very practical. The Bear book, as I'll go through in a minute, has lots of resources. The Tavani book has many comprehension strategies, which I think will be helpful. I hope will be helpful to you in your practice. Then we have some readings from a third book, which I've not listed here. And we finished the semester with chapters out of Proust and the Squid, The Story and Science of the Reading Brain, which will be, those chapters will be up on Moodle. So let's take a look at the first textbook, Words Their Way. This goes through the development of reading for young children. It begins with emergent reading and then what children do, typically developing children in first and second grade in terms of learning the letters of the alphabet and the sounds that are associated with them. It moves through vocabulary development, being able to decode multisyllable words and to use morphology and derivational relations in order to both pronounce, know the meaning, and spelling of words. The tabs, the colored tab margins indicate where there are resources, and so if you look at this book, you can see that there are many resources that accompany each chapter. And the only way to really, I think, appreciate the value of this text is to get in there and to develop some of those resources, some of those activities yourselves, and we'll be doing that as the semester goes on. Also in the back of the book, there you have a code, and that's how you gain access to the toolkit that accompanies this book. Please do access that toolkit. It has lots and lots of materials for you. I Read It But I Don't Get It is our second textbook. It's a relatively quick read, and it is filled with multiple comprehension strategies for adolescents. So whereas Words Their Way you may feel is geared more towards younger children, This book is geared towards secondary students, and we'll spend time talking about those strategies and how you can use them with the students you're working with. Selected readings in the mid part of the semester come from best practices in literacy instruction, and I've selected chapters that address phonemic awareness and phonics, that address fluency, that address vocabulary, and address comprehension both of narrative and expository texts. And then finally, this lovely book, Proust and the Squid by Marianne Wolf, is a beautiful read. I hope you enjoy it, and it looks at reading development and reading disability from a neurological, neurocognitive perspective. And it also talks in the beginning of the book about writing systems in the beginning of writing technology. We have, I've also chosen a few readings for the beginning few weeks to supplement Words Their Way. Again, these are very practical readings that give you some strategies for instruction, and they're meant to be so. So those are the textbooks and the readings. Let's move on to the assignments. The assignments are organized into two categories. This first slide looks at the assignments which address what we just talked about, the textbooks and the readings. And I've organized the assignments into exercises, an activity, written responses, and written reflections. So let me kind of go through those. And again, if after you view this you have questions, don't hesitate to email me with those questions. We're going to begin the semester with 4 exercises, which will be due these first 4 weeks of class and which accompany Words Their Way primarily. The exercises are embedded within the slides, as are the directions for the exercises and when they're due and how you are to complete them and submit them. They're short, they're kind of, I hope they're kind of fun, and they're meant to engage you with the material. Some of them, as I've noted, will model the instructional principles that you'll be reading about. And so those are due the first 4 weeks, beginning next week of class. I'd like you to prepare one activity. Again, as I mentioned before, the Words Their Way has a tremendous amount of information in it. And every time I read it, I see something new that hadn't caught my attention before. So it's certainly not a quick read. But at the end of each chapter are activities. And so what I'd like for you to do is select an activity from one of the chapters that you're assigned to read. Prepare that activity. In other words, make the materials for it. You don't have to use it. I'd love for you to use it, but you don't have to. What I'd like for you to do is prepare the materials, prepare a description of the activity. You can probably paraphrase Words Their Way, quite frankly, and then take a screenshot of it with the description and send it off to me by February 27th. Hopefully this is an activity that you think you can use if you're a teacher and you're teaching, or if you're tutoring in your tutoring practice, or with the student that you'll be assigned for this particular class. Responses are a bit more typical. They will be addressing the integration of the readings from best practices in literacy instruction, those particular chapters, along with Words Their Way, and I read it but I don't get it. They're short responses, but they are academic responses prepared using academic writing. And those are due March 6th, March 27th, and April 10th. And finally, I'm asking that you write some reflections to Proust and the Squid. And I will give you prompts. And these are reflections which I'm anticipating that we will post on the Moodle site and perhaps have others respond to. I haven't quite figured this out yet. It may be a forum kind of format, but we'll see. but those posts will be due April 17th, May 1st, and May 15th. So hopefully the assignments are spread out over the course of the semester, and that no one assignment is particularly onerous. The second set of assignments has to do with the supervised field experience. There are two. Clinical notes, which are due every Thursday prior to your tutoring session on Monday. Those of you who have taken Special Education 502, this will be familiar to you. And it follows a similar format. I'll give you that format, but a little bit different from what you're used to. Again, it's an opportunity for me to see what you're planning to do in the upcoming week and your reflections on what happened the prior week. And I might say that tutoring can be done individually, or if you would like to do it with a partner, that's also an option, and we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks. And a parent report. We have a parent conference on May 8th. I expect that you'll be communicating with the parents on a weekly basis, but this is a more formal communication. The draft is due to me on April 24th, and as you see from the points assigned, for me the parent report is an important component of this course. So let's just quickly take a look at how the grade is assigned. These are the points which will be given for each of the assignments. There are 4 exercises. They'll be worth 20 points, so approximately 5 points apiece. The activity due on February 27th is 10 points. The responses, the 3 responses due March 6th, March 27th, and April 10th are each 25 points. The 3 reflections are each 15 points, and the weekly clinical notes are approximately 10 points apiece, and the parent report 50 points, for a total of 300 points for the class. Let's turn to the course schedule. This course, in my mind, is roughly divided into thirds. The first third is really talking about what to do and how to do it. And so these readings are very practical. They reference the research, but they are really not so much about the research as about what you should be doing or what they're recommending that we all do in terms of literacy instruction. This is the course overview, and it really is from the course overview, which will be a separate video, is from Words Their Way, Chapter 1, and gives you an overview of developmental word study. Week 2 will be looking at chapters 4 and 5. I do not assign 2 and 3, although you're certainly encouraged to look at them. And it's looking at emergent readers and early readers and spellers, and accompanying that is a reading phonological awareness is Child's Play, written by the Yop sisters. The next week, we're looking at transitional readers and spellers primarily from chapter 6. And accompanying that, complementing that, is a piece by Louisa Cook Moats, How Spelling Supports Reading. Week 4, we're looking at both intermediate and advanced readers and spellers, Words Their Way, chapters 7 and 8, and the Latin-Greek connection, which really talks a lot about morphology and how to use our understanding of the Latin-Greek connection to promote both vocabulary, pronunciation. And then finally, we will take on, I read it but I don't get it, in week 5, looking at all the comprehension strategies that Tavani presents and gives us. So that's about the first third. The second third delves more into what the research suggests about best practices, and this is also when you begin the clinical experience. The activity is due in week 6, and we'll be reading a chapter by Patricia Cunningham, who is well known for her work in the area of phonics. and also relating that to Words Their Way, chapters 4, 5, and 6. Your first response is due on March 6th. Note too that the dates in parentheses are when your clinical notes are due, which is the Thursday before the coming Monday. In week 7, on March 6th, we'll look at fluency. On March 13th, we'll look at vocabulary. On March 27th, we'll look at narrative comprehension, and on April 3rd, informational texts, expository comprehension. Once again, linking those chapters that are filled with research studies with the very practical readings that you've already done in Words Their Way, and I read it, but I don't get it. That's kind of, for me, the second third of the course. The final third is spending time with Mary Ann Wolf's Proust and the Squid. Clinical notes continue, and as you'll see, the draft of your parent report is due week 13. In anticipation for my being able to look at it, make comments, and get it back to you so that you'll have a really polished version by May 8th when we have parent conferences. Mary Ann Wolf begins by talking about how writing developed, and this is a relatively new invention, such an important invention for humankind, really. She then talks a little bit about reading development and links reading to language, which is a theme that you'll hear me talk about throughout the semester. Writing is language written down, and language, of course, represents ideas. And then we turn to her particular focus, which is when the brain can't learn to read, and dyslexia. And then also some conclusions about what all this means from a neuroscience perspective, as well as what technology means as we move through this new century. And so that's really the third part of the course. On the final page of the syllabus, you see the citations for what we will be reading, as well as my notes. Please know that I don't like to, but I will deduct points for late assignments. I'm particularly keen on having those clinical notes in by Thursday because that gives me Friday. Hopefully I can get them done on Friday, if I can't by Saturday, to get them back to you with comments and feedback. Of course, as we do postings, as we interact with one another in the Teaching Learning Counseling Consortium, we all expect one another to be respectful and to demonstrate really professional dispositions. If you are going to be requesting accommodations, you do need to be registered with DRES. And finally, I can't emphasize enough, if you have a question, please ask. If you have a concern, please let me know. And I look forward to this semester. Thank you so much.